What does pastoral oversight look like of the groups? And maybe then in particular, how would you encourage other churches when it comes to engagement from church leadership? Because as I mentioned, I think there are many churches that have groups, but pastoral staff maybe keeps them at arm's length or doesn't know how they should be involved or what role should they have, or maybe thinks it's better that they keep distant from it. How would you encourage pastors and church staff that they can support and encourage groups and leaders in their church?
So I'll start out here with how we do some things, and Ken, you can add more to the last part of his question. So the structure that we have here is called LifeSpring, and that encompasses a lot of our different kinds of healings ministries, support groups, and then we also have Restoring the Foundations, which is a prayer ministry group, and then we have just the Pure Desire groups, lots of different groups and pathways for people to find healing. But a core part of that is that we have a LifeSpring core team, and they are our intercessors for all the LifeSpring ministries. And prayer has been such a huge part of, I think, the success of this ministry and other ministries that we have here, and the openness that it's created for people to find healing. So the prayer very much goes strongly with that. So when you talk about oversight, we do have a core team within LifeSpring that's praying and interceding for all the ministries. And then I talked about our leader groups, and part of that too is also having prayer coverage. I encourage all leaders to have someone praying for them and praying for their group, and then all group members to have someone praying for them, at least one person as they're going through. So intercessory prayer is really just a core part of who we are as a church and a part of all of our healing ministries. And yeah, and I think I wanted to add to that too, as we continue to add pieces to the healing ministries that you had mentioned earlier about not being afraid to go to the dark places with people. And you all had recommended the Fearless series for women a little while back, and that's something that we have incorporated here too. And that was one with great fear and trepidation of, wow, we're going here too. But God really does open doors. And that's why I'm tying that back into the prayer of, these are ministries we've been praying for years of how can we help people? What resources can we bring to people? And the ministries come to us that way. And so that's just a real big key.
Yes, thank you, Marcy. She said we have LifeSpring Ministries, and then we have LifeSpring Counseling. So we have 10 counselors. And Marcy's really blessed because she's married to the lead counselor. Her husband is in charge of the counseling ministry, and she's in LifeSpring. So really, they're both very gifted in what they do. And so it's an honor to have her husband leading those counselors. They are independent, but they are available. And so the way we go up, I oversee all of it. And so whenever there's all these channels one can go through before it gets to me, and but ultimately we'll solve the crisis that somebody's involved in. Like this week, last week, we've had several women who say, hey, we need some space, some separation. So we work with, is there housing around? Is there some way that we can support the counseling ministry as they help this couple through it? So we definitely team together. A great honor between all of us as pastors. We have 11 pastors, and we kind of all generally know what's going on in the ministries. And so this week I asked for prayer for what we're doing here today. So there's others know what we're doing. I agree with Marcy. Prayer is a huge piece of who we are and how we relate to our Father God. So lots of grace, lots of trust, and lots of honor.
Yeah, it's cool as just listening to you guys, like the benefit of having pastoral buy-in, pastoral insight, oversight and input into what's happening is it's not just an emphasis across the board in your staff. It's also resources that you're willing and able to give, because that's one of the things that, volunteers can go to their pastors, their elders, and say like, hey, can we have some money for a church membership or to get 101 or something like that? And, that isn't always the case. And so I think what's so cool, and I would just say here too, that it's not that you have to have pastoral oversight and it has to be this engaged like Petra for groups to be successful. But man alive, it is unbelievable what you guys are doing and the type of church and the type of I mean, that you guys talk about the hospital model church, like that is because, yes, the Lord is working in your church. Yes, people are coming to you, but it's that continued openness and emphasis that your staff and your volunteers and your elders are putting on this area. It's amazing.
I think to take to heart what Marcy said, even if you're at a church where you feel like you don't have this level of support or staff members are not involved in supporting the groups, recruiting people that can be praying for you as a leader, for your group, and having that support and covering, I think, is an essential component that we could have at any church, regardless of the level of support above us. It's just knowing that we're not isolated in this. There are people that know we're leading a group, are praying over us, praying for the group, and I just think that's a real dynamic that we maybe underscore at times because it's not as visible, it's not as tangible, and we know the right answer is always to pray, but especially in those situations where you feel like you don't have a lot of support coming from leadership above you, to know that you've got others in kind of that peer support role praying and interceding for you, I think is just very, very important. And so I was glad Marcy mentioned that.